I want you to try and visualize a very specific kind of horror. Not, a movie monster, but a really practical, everyday disaster.
Okay, I'm with you.
So you're an artist, maybe a scientist. You've spent decades, literally decades, refining your craft. You finally create something that holds the key to your future, the culmination of years of work. You put it in your pocket for safekeeping.
Oh no, I see where this is going.
And then, because you're human and you're tired, you throw your pants in the washing machine.
Ugh, I can feel my stomach drop just thinking about it. That sound of the water filling up, the lock on the door clicking shut, it's the sound of a point of no return.
It really is. And for most of us, that's just, what, a ruined iPhone.
Yeah.
A shredded $20 bill. But for the subject of today's deep dive, that spin cycle was an extinction-level event for a very specific slice of history. Or, well, it should have been.
That is the key phrase, isn't it? Should have been. Because what we're looking at today is how a catastrophic error turned into one of the most commercially successful accidents in modern agriculture.
We are diving deep into the story of MBC1, or Miracle Alien Cookies. We're working off a fascinating breakdown from Nug Notes called The Miracle of MAC1, Capulator's Masterpiece.
And masterpiece is not an exaggeration here.
No, not at all. Reading through this, it plays out less like a botany report and more like a Hollywood script. You've got the mad scientist breeder, this impossible survival story, and then this massive economic explosion that completely changed the California market.
It's a perfect case study if you really want to understand the modern cannabis industry, not just the biology, but the hype cycles, the IP debates, the tension between legacy culture and corporate money. You just have to trace the lineage of this one plant.
So let's start with the architect. The breeder known as Capulator. The source material paints him as this low-key legend, but I think that kind of downplays it a bit.
It does. In the world of genetics, he's practically a mythical figure, but he didn't just pop up in the Instagram era. He's a product of the forum era.
And that distinction is crucial, right?
Oh, absolutely. When we talk about the forum era, we're talking late 90s, early 2000s. The whole landscape was completely different. There were no influencers, no brand deals. If you were breeding, you were posting your results on these old message boards, places like Icy Map or Cannabis World.
I remember reading about those boards. It was the Wild West, but it was also this incredibly rigorous peer review system.
For sure.
You couldn't just post a filtered photo and call it fire. You had to document the grow day by day. If your genetics were unstable or if you were stealing someone else's work, the community would tear you apart.
It was brutal, but it created diamonds. You had to have thick skin, and more importantly, you had to have integrity. Capulator started making seeds way back in 1996. He survived that gauntlet for decades. He built his reputation on strains like Goat Gas and LOA, not because of marketing, but because the plants did exactly what he said they would do.
Which brings us to the mother problem. Every great breeding project starts with a goal, right? Usually trying to fix some flaw in a plant that is otherwise just perfect. And in this case, Capulator was obsessed with a strain called Alien Cookies.
Specifically, Alien Cookies F2 number 7. And for any of the growers listening right now, you know exactly what kind of plant this was. It was the classic heartbreaker cut.
The notes describe it as having magic. This really distinct incense flavor, this euphoric high that you just couldn't find anywhere else. But growing it was a nightmare.
An absolute nightmare. Think about the mechanics of a commercial grow room. You need vigor. You need plants that want to live.
Right.
The Alien Cookies F2 number 7 was slow, it was finicky, it had a terrible structure, probably weak branching that couldn't even support its own weight, and the yield was abysmal. It was a head stash plant. You grew it for yourself because you love the smoke, but you'd go bankrupt trying to fill a warehouse with it.
So the mission was clear. Capulator needed to take that Ferrari engine, the terpene profile on the high, and put it inside a chassis that could actually handle the road. He needed a male plant to introduce that hybrid vigor without stomping out the mother's nuance.
Heterosis, that's the technical term. You want the offspring to outperform the parents in biological function. He found a male candidate in a cross between Starfighter and a Colombian landrace.
Oh, the Colombian influence is interesting there. Landrace sativas are known for that wild, sort of uncontainable vigor.
Exactly. It seems like the perfect counterbalance to a sluggish, inbred cookie strain.
So it brings that structural integrity, disease resistance, all that good stuff.
Theoretically, yes. So, Capulator makes the cross, he harvests the seeds, he puts them in his pocket, and then?
A laundry incident happens. And I want to pause on the biology of this for a second, because the source calls it a miracle. But let's break down why. It's not just that the seeds got wet. Seeds get wet in nature all the time. It's the soap, isn't it?
It's the whole combination of chemical and physical trauma. First, you've got the mechanical damage, the tumbling action, the G-forces of the spin cycle slamming these tiny embryos against the
I
drum.
mean, just beating them up.
But chemically, you're dead on. It's the surfactants. Detergents are designed to break down oils and penetrate surfaces. A seed coat is basically a protective barrier. The soap just strips that away, letting water rush in way too quickly. That's imbibition damage. And it introduces toxic chemicals directly to the embryo.
So by all accounts, he should have pulled a handful of mush out of that washing machine.
99.9% of the time, that is exactly what happens. The fact that any of them survived suggests a level of structural integrity in those seed coats that is, well, practically anomalous.
But he didn't throw them away. He planted them. And out of that soapy mess, 2 males popped up. One of them was tagged number 15.
Miracle 15, the survivor. And you have to wonder, did the laundry actually act as a kind of stress test? Did it inadvertently select for the toughest, most chemically resistant genetics in the whole batch?
That's a wild theory. Survival of the fittest accelerated by Maytag.
Something like that.
So now we have Miracle 15, the father. He's crossed it back to that high-maintenance alien cookie's mother. The year is 2015.
And on January 1st, 2016, the first 10 seeds of this new Cross the MAC are popped. And this is where the story shifts from pure luck to pure skill. Because getting the seeds is one thing. Selecting the winner, that's another thing entirely.
The hit rate on this pack was just insane. The notes say 5 out of 10 females were killers.
5 out of 10.
For anyone out there who has popped a pack of seeds, you know that finding one keeper in a 10-pack is a huge win. Finding 5 is a statistical anomaly.
It just speaks to the compatibility of the parents. That Colombian vigor from the Miracle 15 father meshed perfectly with the alien cookie's traits. But even with 5 winners, you need the winner. And this is where Capulator's forum-era discipline really kicked in.
He didn't just pick the one that looked best in vid.
No. He ran them. He tested them. He probably spent years on it.
Eventually settling on the MAC one.
Yeah.
And the description of this plant, I mean, it explains why it took over the world. It wasn't just that it got you high. It checked every single box for the cultivator and the consumer.
That is the holy grail. Usually you have to compromise. A plant that yields huge amounts often tastes like cardboard.
Or a plant that tastes amazing yields like a bonsai tree.
Exactly. MSC1 broke that rule. It had the sour cookie terpenes and that heavy resin production for the smokers and hash makers. But for the growers, it was sturdy. It stretched just enough. It finished in a reasonable time, and it was photogenic.
Photogenic matters way more than people want to admit, doesn't it? We were entering the peak Instagram era of cannabis. Bag appeal became currency.
And MEC1 looks like it's been dipped in diamond dust.
It's blindingly frosty.
Yeah.
And that visual appeal created the hype, which leads us to the economics of it all. Because once people saw what this plant looked like, the demand just went vertical.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the auction. The source mentions a pack of seeds selling for $15,000. When I first read that, I thought it had to be a typo.
No typo. 15 grand. For 12 seeds.
Now, to an outsider, that sounds like Dutch tulip mania. Just completely insane. But if you break down the business model of, say, a nursery, it actually makes sense, doesn't it?
It does, if you do the math. In the clone market, a verified cut of a hot new strain can sell for $500, maybe $1,000 per cutting.
Per little plant.
Per tiny little plant. So if you buy that pack for $15,000 and you find a mother plant that allows you to sell, say, 1,000 clones a month, that 15 grand is a negligible startup cost. It was a capital investment, not a consumer purchase.
But this created this weird dynamic of exclusivity. We hear about Cap's Cut. This wasn't something you could just pick up at the local garden center.
No way.
Capulator kept a very tight leash on who got the actual genetics.
He did. It was a trusted grower network.
Yeah.
And this brings up that friction between the old school and the new school. By restricting the supply, he maintained quality control. You knew if you were smoking Cap's Cut, it was the real deal. But that scarcity drives the black market wild.
And it drives the counterfeit market, which segues into the most complex part of this story, the ethics of plant breeding. The notes highlight that Capulator is extremely vocal against uncredited F2s.
And this is the third rail of cannabis genetics. An F2, in this context, is when someone buys those seeds, maybe not even the $15,000 pack, maybe a later release, they find a male and a female, breed them, and then sell the new seeds as a MAC.
Legally, in the wider world of agriculture, that's a gray area. It depends on patents and things.
Yeah.
But culturally, in cannabis, the argument is all about artistic integrity. Capulator's stance is essentially, I built this house, you don't get to sell tickets to it.
It's even deeper than that, I think. His argument is that he is still working the line. He considers MMAC a work in progress. So if someone else releases a MMAC2 and the genetics are unstable or full of hermaphrodites, it damages the brand of MMAC. It dilutes the reputation he spent 20 years building.
But then you have the counter-argument, right? From the information wants to be free crowd. They'd say, once I buy the seeds, they're mine. If I want to make more seeds, that's my right as a gardener.
And that is the tension at the very heart of the industry right now. We are moving from this open source, sort of hippie culture where sharing was caring to an IP-driven industry where genetics are protected assets.
A capulator is a bridge between those two worlds.
He is. He relies on community respect, that old form era code, rather than lawyers to enforce his IP. He publicly shames people who rip him off, and because he's so respected, well, it works.
It's reputational currency.
Yeah.
But beyond the fights over who owns the seeds, the impact of MBAC on the actual market was just profound. The notes mentioned it acted as a lifeline for legacy growers in California.
This is a critical piece of economic history. When California legalized recreationally, the regulatory burden was crushing. Small mom-and-pop farms were getting wiped out by taxes and compliance costs. They needed a product that could command a premium price, something the massive 100,000 square foot corporate grows couldn't easily replicate at quality.
Because growing MC1 to its full potential requires real attention to detail.
Exactly. It requires a level of care that just doesn't scale well in a factory farm setting. So MEC1 became the great equalizer. A small legacy farmer could grow 100 pounds of MC1, sell it at top-shelf prices because of the hype and quality, and actually pay their bills. It literally kept family farms afloat during that transition.
That's fascinating. So it wasn't just a hype strain. It was a defensive weapon for the small business owner.
It absolutely was. It proved that quality could still beat quantity, even in a rigged market.
And now, of course, it's everywhere. You can't walk into a dispensary without seeing MAC or something crossed with MAC. It's become a foundational building block for all these modern polyhybrids.
It's the Genghis Khan effect. Its DNA is so pervasive now that it's hard to find a new strain that doesn't have a little Miracle 15 in it somewhere. It raised the bar for what frosty means. It shifted the consumer palate towards that savory cookie dough funk.
It really is a masterpiece, as Nugnotes calls it. But as we wrap this up, I keep going back to the beginning. The washing machine.
The spin cycle of destiny.
It's terrifying to think about how fragile innovation is.
Yeah.
We look at FSC1 as this inevitability because it's so successful now, but it really hung by a thread. If Capulator had used a stronger bleach, or if he had just decided, man, I'm not wasting soil on these wet seeds, the entire landscape of modern cannabis would look different.
It connects to so many other scientific breakthroughs. Penicillin was a dirty petri dish someone left out by mistake. The microwave was discovered because a radar magnetron melted a chocolate bar in a guy's pocket.
Wait, really? The chocolate bar thing?
Percy Spencer. He was working on radar equipment and his snack melted. He didn't ignore it. He investigated it. That's the key.
And that's the provocative thought for you listening today. It's not just about the accident. We all have accidents. We all wash our wallets or break things. The genius wasn't the washing machine. The genius was recognizing that the survivor was special.
Exactly. Capulator didn't create the survival. Nature did that. But he had the expertise to recognize the value of the anomaly. How many masterpieces have we all thrown in the trash just because they didn't look like what we expected?
That is something to chew on. Maybe the next industry-changing breakthrough is currently sitting in your junk drawer or, coming out of your dryer, just waiting for you to notice it.
Just please don't go washing your seeds on purpose to test this theory. We got lucky once. Let's not push it.
Agreed. Leave the extreme stress testing to the professionals. A huge thank you to Nugnotes for the incredible breakdown of this history. It's a wild ride from the forums to the top shelf.
A great story of resilience in every sense of the word.
And thank you for listening. We will catch you on the next deep dive.
Take care.